Welcome to Real Estate Real Talk with me, Skyleigh. I'm a realtor, coach, and founder of Forever Kamloops and Forever Florida Real Estate Groups and the creator of Elevation Real Estate, the realtor coaching platform. After nearly a decade in this industry, I've built a business that gives me more freedom, more income, and more time with the people I love. And now I'm here to help other realtors do the same. This podcast is for agents who want to build a thriving real estate business without burning out. We talk about scaling smart and building systems so you can buy back your life, because life shouldn't feel like all work and no play. And if you're a buyer or seller tuning in, consider this your backstage pass. You'll hear unfiltered conversations with top agents and industry pros, giving you the same insights we share behind closed doors. Knowledge is power, and the more you know, the better you can advocate for yourself and work with someone who truly has your back. Let's get real. Okay, sitting here today with Evan Crawford. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me on the podcast. I am excited to introduce you because you are a top producing associate broker with the Crawford Willis Group. But something that I think is going to be really exciting for people to listen to is the fact that you had a scholarship to play baseball for the Auburn University. And then after you graduated, you played minor league baseball, but then you also did a short stint in Toronto playing for the Toronto Blue Jays, which is super, super cool. And I always have such a fascination with how discipline, consistency, all of that goes into sports and how it also like parallels a lot with running a business, like not even just real estate, but like business in general. So I think that we're going to get some really good tips, tricks, information from you on how to be consistent and thrive in this crazy business. But I want to know a little bit as to how you got into real estate. Like, why did you decide real estate out of all the other different types of businesses that you could have cracked into?
Yeah. So from one part-time Canadian to another.
Yeah.
I honestly, I grew up around it. My grandfather was in real estate. My uncles, my mom was a realtor. So I grew up around it. My grandfather had built some houses and some things like that. So we were like, all the cousins were 7, 8 years old laying sod at his houses that he built. So we were just always around it. And so my last season, when I started not doing very well, it made it easy for me to say, hey, I had my first son as well during that time. The first year I was gone, first year of his life I was gone. So toward the end of that season, I was like, hey, I'm not doing very well. I got a kid at home. It's time for me to hang him up. And so I was like in my locker taking real estate classes before games and stuff. And guys are like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing school right now? And I'm like, dude, I'm done. I'm ready to get into something else. And so real estate, obviously I knew it and I was comfortable with it. But the other part of it is that just the competitiveness. It kept that competitive drive alive a little bit of, hey, what can I do next season that's going to be better than this season? How can I outperform myself? And so it's always a little bit of there's numbers in baseball and there's numbers in real estate. And so it was able to keep track of it like that. It was something that was familiar to me. Hey, what my ERA this year, I'm not going to tell y'all because it's embarrassing, but my ERA this year, what can I make it next year? And so same thing with real estate. It was like, how many sales I get this year, I'm going to get more next year. And so that was just it's a comfortable transition and something that kept that drive alive, and just something that, usually most athletes, and I hate calling myself that as a pitcher because we're not really considered athletes, but
you still have to run a little bit.
That's right. True.
Just a little bit.
That's right. From the dugout to the pitcher's mound. It's more of a jog. But yes, most of us are wired that way, of just, you've grown up your whole life and your brain gets wired to a way of wanting to compete in some aspect or another. And so sales in general is going to be that, but real estate's even down and dirtier because it's, like I said, it's yours. You own it. No matter if you're just a salesperson at a brokerage or you're a broker yourself or you own your own, you're always your own company in real estate. And so it was something that I looked at and just said, hey, this is something I can jive with this. So that was my easiest transition into this.
Yeah, no, it's cool though that your like family also had like history with it, because I think I was actually telling my daughter about this yesterday because she's, do you think that I'm going to be successful? And I was like, yes. And she's like, how do you know that? And I was like, because you are capable of doing the thing that you can see as being a possibility.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so
the hustle.
Yeah, so I'm like, for her family, it's not even just me in business, but there's a lot of people within our family that have run businesses and been entrepreneurs and all of that kind of stuff. And I'm like, if you see the possibility and you have the forward thinking and the vision of it, it's going to be really easy for you to accomplish that. So again, like having your family have their kind of fingers in that industry, it makes sense that you'd go that way because that's like the vision of.
Right. And I think my mom knew me well enough to where, you said it best. You see it as a kid. You grow up, you see that hustle, and that's what you're used to. You're just used to like, oh yeah, they're going to work late. They're going to be on the phone a lot. They're going to be high intensity whenever they're in selling, when a selling season's on. And so I was comfortable with that. And then I think she knows me well enough to where when I told her I was going to get in real estate, she was like, "You'll never be able to succeed in real estate." And I was like, "Oh
Oh
boy, here we
no,
go,
mom.
here we go." But she did it out of love. She did it out of knowing exactly what that would do to me.
I was
So
gonna say that
knowing,
just spikes the like
yeah,
competition fueling you.
yeah,
You're like, I'm gonna show you.
yeah. She's like, "Oh, I
I
don't know
love
if you
that
got what it
though.
takes to do that." And so she knew what she was doing. She knew that was gonna drive me, and that's what good mamas do. She
Sneaky
did that.
lady. I
That's
love
right.
that so
That's right.
much. Ooh, I have this power. So I do want to dive into the daily activities and stuff like that that you lean into. But then at the same time, I'm curious about the kids aspect because I'm a single mom, two kids. It's a crazy tornado on a daily basis, and I love my career, and I'm sure that you love your career too, but like that balance, I think that having your schedule is like super important. But did you think that life was going to look this way, business and kids wise, like when you had your son?
No, absolutely not. So I came from playing baseball, and it was get up, go to the field, do all your stuff, play a game, maybe go have some beers, go to bed, wake up, do it, and then when I got done with my playing, that the first day I got home, my wife was like, "Hey, we're in between daycares right now, so you got them today." And I was like, "What?" I'll be honest with you, like halfway through the day, just crying a lot, tons, and I was like, called her. I'm like, "Hey, what's going on? He just won't stop crying." She's like, "When's the last time you fed him?" And I was like, "Ooh, I forgot you got to feed these things." So it was a day one. It was me coming in and having no idea what I was doing, which again, I like because I wanted to show that I could do it. And so it was another thing that I dove fully into. And if you're diving into two things straight away from coming from baseball, it was a whirlwind, and it's been fun. They're right along with me. They get to come do a lot of the things I do. They hang out at the office a lot. And it's given me an opportunity, and I hate to use the word flexibility because I hate it whenever an agent comes in and says, "I want to get in this industry because I want flexibility," because it's not a, unless you have built that into your schedule, if that makes sense, a schedule of flexibility. Unless you've really built that in over time, I wouldn't say to get into this industry for that reason, but it's given me the ability to make most of their school activities if I can make my own schedule. If you're ahead of it and you can create a business to where you can say, "Hey, here's my available times." And if you're good at what you do, and I take pride in what I do, and if you're good enough, people will wait to say, "Okay, I will meet with you then." I think a lot of agents do get in the habit of just saying yes immediately. "I'll meet you wherever you want to go. I'll open whatever door you want me to open." It's like the dating world, right? You don't want to look like you're over anxious to come meet
Overly
somebody.
eager.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
That's the
"Hey,
problem.
I'll meet you. I've got some things going on. I've got some family things." And I try to set that standard up front. A lot of times with our clients, I'm like, "Hey, look, I got 3 kids. I try to be there for the things they need." And of course, there's times where I'm like, "Hey, guys, I can't make it to your practice because I've got some meetings, I've got some showings, things like that." And they understand that. And I think, again, back to that where, hey, you watched your mom hustle, you understand that. And I think they appreciate it too. They appreciate, hey, they're putting in work for the family. So I think it's all balance, I guess, if I'm gonna sum up the wildness and the craziness of having kids and being in this industry, is it's a balance, and finding it is wildly important. And setting that standard for yourself up front is because you can get into a situation where you don't stop working. It's
Yeah.
real estate such a blur between personal life and work that it can all take over. And so if you don't set those guidelines for yourself up front, you'll get in a situation where you don't want to be in.
Yeah. You said something that there's something that I learned really early on in the business, and what you said about people getting into it for flexibility kind of triggered me to tell you this, that there's so many really wonderful things about real estate and owning your own business, like the flexibility, the no ceiling for income, like all of that stuff. But then at the same time, if you want to be your own boss, you also have to be a really good employee to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's like the piece that ends up being missed is the fact that, yes, you have all this flexibility, but at the same time, you are like accountable to yourself. And if you don't do the things you're supposed to do, then
Right.
you're not going to be your own boss for long.
No, absolutely not.
So,
And you can be somebody that's not working is extremely flexible. And so you can be,
yeah, you have all the time in the world,
yeah.
time
So
freedom.
you can be as flexible as you want to be in real estate, but that doesn't mean you're going to get any sales.
Yeah.
So, that can only go so far. And so you got to actually use your career if you want to succeed. I use this analogy, and not ever on this really, but it's like having a treadmill, right? You can have a treadmill. That's not going to make you skinny. You got to
Yeah.
jump on it, get on it, and you got to use it. And so it's the same thing. It's just because you bought a treadmill and it's over in the corner collecting dust, it's not going to make you any healthier. So it's the same thing with your real estate career. Like you can be a realtor and you can have flexibility, but if you're not actually using your tools as a real estate agent to help clients, then you're not going to be very successful.
Yeah. So then going back to this like discipline that I mentioned at the very beginning, consistency, I think, is probably the number one thing that helps people like fail when they don't accomplish. So I'm curious to know how, again, being like a former athlete, consistency and practice like on a daily basis are such a big part of being an athlete. So I'm curious to know that obviously translated into real estate for you, but if you can give me like a little bit of like peek behind the curtains of what your day looks like and the things that are like non-negotiables, this is what you do on a daily basis.
Right. Yeah. So I think the biggest part about consistency and the part that stumbles a lot of people is failing all of a sudden,
Mm.
failing with your consistency. And then you're like, and then you're caught off. And then it's I don't know if I can do this. And then you start doubting yourself. And then you don't want to make phone calls because you're like, I don't know if I can actually do this. And it really is. I think the biggest part about consistency is being to overcoming failure. And you talk about sports and baseball, particularly. If you're in the Hall of Fame in baseball, you get a hit 3 out of every 10 times you're hitting. So you're failing 70% of the time and you're in the Hall of Fame. And so
Yeah.
if you can, and you've got to get, I mean, you go 0 for 4, 0 for 5, and you can go on an 0 for 20 streak, and you still got to put your socks on the next day, put your cleats on, get in the batter's box, and you still got to try to get a hit. And so it's the same thing with real estate is you're going to make so many calls that people are going to say, leave me alone, or no, I don't want to sell, or no, I'm going with another agent, and that's just a law of numbers. If you bat 1,000 in this industry, first of all, you're probably extremely busy because you're working with a ton of people. But secondly, that's not going to happen because there's so many people in this industry that are competing for your job. And so you've got to be comfortable with hearing those no's. We say it all the time in our team is you got to chase the no. How many no's can you get today? Because if you've got a lot of no's, that means you're putting in a lot of effort. And
Yeah.
so,
Go for no. The
yeah,
book is like amazing. I'm sure you read it if you're saying how many no's can you
absolutely.
get.
So
Go for no.
and,
It's a great
and
book.
that's all, that's looking at failure. That's looking at failure down the barrel. And so you can't let that shake your consistency. And I think that's what happens a lot of times. It stops people in their tracks because they're not used to it, or they're uncomfortable with it, or they let self-doubt slide in whenever that happens. You celebrate it. Trick yourself. Celebrate when you get turned down, when you get a no. Celebrate that and trick your mind into saying, I just succeeded because I just made another call, or I just narrowed down another person I'm not going to purchase. And so that's getting me closer to the next one that will. And so I think honestly, that to me is what can keep you consistent is keeping a positive outlook on the failures and the negativity and just being able to pick up the phone again and have another meeting and call another potential client. And then obviously having some type of schedule for yourself and whether that be personal stuff. Hey, I'm going to read 30 minutes in the morning. I'm going to get a exercise in. I'm going to have clarity because if you don't have clarity when you're starting all these things, it's not going to work. And I am definitely not one of those people that's, oh, you got to make 1,000 calls and you got to do 700 push-ups and 1,000 crunches and read a book and make a smoothie. I'm not one of those people that's going to
You're
say all
not a
that, but
miracle
whatever
morning
it
kind
is
of
for
guy.
you,
Yeah.
I think it's great. If it works for you, I think if it's whatever works for you, whatever is giving you that clarity to be confident and be able to move on with your day and do the things that you know you need to do that are IPAs, income producing activities, and that's what works. And for me, it's that. And then I had to come up with a schedule because I'm like a golden retriever. I'm like squirrel. I'll find something that I'm gonna go chase after. If I don't have something for me to focus on every day as far as time block, and it's ish, I would say time block ish. I'm not gonna say that I'm direct on that either, because again, I'm pretty all over the place. And that was something Matt, whenever I got into the business, Matt's my business partner. And whenever I got in, I joined a brokerage that he was working with, and he's just much, much older than me, just horribly, just all decrepit. No, I'm just kidding. He's barely older
No,
than me.
he's gonna
But
have to come into the
he had been
background
doing
of the shot so that everybody can see
yeah,
if
Matt,
you're
come
like
over here.
yanking our
This
chain
is
or
Matt, by
not.
the way. No, this is Matt. So he's my business partner. And so he was already doing this for longer than I have. He's been in it since early 2000 what? 2005, basically
Okay.
1960.
He's been through a number of ups and downs in the
Yes,
weird craziness of this
yes,
market
yes.
or
He's
of
got
this
some
like
scars.
economy.
He's got some
Wow.
scars, and he made it through. And obviously, I leaned on him, and I'm like, hey, what do I need to do on a daily basis? And I guess that's the other thing. If you're getting into this industry, is you've got to be comfortable asking questions. You've got to be comfortable taking advice, and don't feel like don't be afraid to look stupid. I'm definitely not afraid to look. I already look dumb enough. I'm not afraid to look any dumber. So I can ask anything. And so I went to him and I said, hey, what do I need to do on a daily basis? Where do I need to focus my time? And so he helped me with the time blocking thing, because coming from sports, that was one thing that I didn't have to do myself. Was everybody told me, hey, stretches at 12:30, BP's at 1,
They
at
gave you the schedule,
1:30.
I guess so, hey?
Yeah, so I was just
Oh, that's like
I was always given that. And so that was the one thing I would say that did not correlate from sports was, hey, all right, you're on your own now. And so that was something that he really helped me with, and figuring that out. And again, that's a struggle for me. But once I figured out, hey, these are things I have to do today. And a lot of it's just, for me, it's picking up the phone and having conversations with Sphere, with people I know, with people I've met in the community, with past clients, always just checking on people. And mostly, and we're not big salesy around here. It's just checking on people and being genuine about your conversations of, hey, how's the family doing? How's everybody? How's work? And then when you ask the question, other people, how is work? They're going to ask you how the market is. And then you get into real estate conversation. And I'm just making sure I'm having enough of those conversations per day to be able to continue our business. And so that's my planning sessions throughout the day, but just taking care of yourself and then doing those things that you know are going to make you. And again, it's different for everybody. It's whatever you're good at. Some people are really good at going to the humane shelter and walking dogs, and they meet people there and they can have conversations, and people find out that it's whatever it is
yeah.
that you're good at, whatever your sphere is, whoever you're good at connecting with, because it's a connection game. Real estate's it's a relationship game. How many people can you have a genuine relationship with, and how many of those people are going to trust you? Because you have to build trust for people to want to use you to purchase the largest purchase they'll make in their lives, most likely. And if they
It's
don't trust you,
consistent across the board, though, Evan. Like any person that I have interviewed on this podcast who has done really well in the business, that is like across the board. It's like we are relationship focused, like
yes,
across the board, which is amazing. I love that it's like the same conversation over and over again. It's not like you're reading a book and it's saying it. It's like people that are living and breathing in this industry are saying that is what they focus on, and it's just blown up their business. But the daily habits that you mentioned, I actually wrote a couple of them down because I was like, these are it's like really great because the top three that you touched on were that there is no stupid questions, and that's like a habit that you need to build, is that like you can just keep asking questions because it's obviously going to help you get to where you need to go and help your clients because now you have more information.
right.
Not giving up when you get those no's, and then sticking to your schedule and time blocking, like those are some really good habits that I think a lot of people have a hard time digesting. Like you're getting punched in the face and then you're going to go back out again. That's a
Right.
habit that you're going to have to just like be okay with.
Yes, if you want to be successful in this industry, in this world, you really do have to be comfortable with failing. You just have to find a way to, and for a lot of people, it's uncomfortable, obviously. And so finding a way to be comfortable while you're uncomfortable is a hard thing to do. But once you do it too, and let me tell you something about Matt. Matt was very uncomfortable being on video, being on cameras. And now he is just
Just now he
polished.
just
He
linked
is
over like
polished. Yeah, now he just slid his chair over here, got on camera. He's ready to go. It's just, and that was something that he worked on, and he got better at it, and he got comfortable being uncomfortable. And then now it's one take, man. He's one take and he's good to go. He did it.
Oh,
So,
confidence comes after the action.
right,
Did it. Now
that's
you're
right.
good. You didn't die. It's okay.
No,
We're going to keep going.
no, you find out some things that you're capable of doing that you never would have thought you could.
So funny. So then it brings me to my next question. Then we talked a little bit about shiny object syndrome. I am the same. You're a golden retriever,
Mm-hmm.
and I also squirrel off, or I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
ooh, shiny. And then I start something else. I always call myself like a 90% person because I get like that close. And
Oh
then the
yeah.
10%, I'm like, that good enough,
Oh yeah.
which can be a good thing. But then at the same time, there's a lot of not finished projects. So
Yeah, in the real estate world, I would call myself a blue taper because that means I got to about the blue tape, and then the blue tape walkthrough, and then I was done. That. Uh,
yeah. But like, how do you protect your productivity? Because I have a couple tips and tricks that I use for myself. But if I can learn something from you, I am all for it. So tell me, how do you keep yourself on track,
yeah,
protect
I
your
would
productivity?
definitely love to learn what you got for sure. But for me, honestly, the biggest thing for me was an office because at home I was not doing it. At home, it's like, all right, I've got 5 minutes, I'll do some laundry, and then I do the laundry, and then I'm like, oh, look at that over there in the corner, I need to go fix that real quick, and then I'd see that, and then it was like one thing, and the next thing I know, it's like 4 hours later, and I have not done the things that I've written down for myself to do the night before. And that's one thing I guess I try to do is the night before I try to write down everything that I need to accomplish the next day. And I'm just going to try to stick to that as much as I can. And because if I try to start that the day of, I've noticed I let that lead to another thing that's going to lead to another thing that then I'm going to start adding some lists together. And then so I try to do it the night before, rest on it, and then I'm starting on that list the next morning. And I guess during the day, it's just being here and being away from. I've tried to pull all distractions, and Matt will tell you I still get distracted at the office. Like I'll still try to go, tighten a
We're
light switch,
human. We're
all those
not
kind of things. Yeah,
robots. Like,
yeah.
it,
I'll just hop up and start walking around, and so I'll give it. my focus is about 20 minutes at a time. I can give very hard focus for about 20 minutes, and then I got to get up. I got to walk around for a second, come back. I can give myself another 20 minutes, and I guess that's one trick is just I've learned myself to know about where my attention span lies, and I'm not going to try to do something for 3 hours straight because it's just I'll get lazy at it and I won't do it to my fullest.
mine's similar. So someone, I can't remember who taught me this. It was one of my mentors a number of years ago. And excuse me, he said that setting a timer and having those like mini work blocks is like having a bunch of like bursts of work days within a work day.
Oh yeah.
Because I squirrel off too. So a lot of times I'm like, okay, I'm going to get this done and I'm going to do phone calls for 30 minutes, for
Mhm.
example, and I'll just set a timer. And then the other thing that I do is that when I'm trying to do a number of things quickly, especially with prospecting, I can get really sidetracked with the CRM and updating the notes and the tags and like the reminders
Mhm.
and all that stuff. So, what I usually do is that instead of updating it in the system at that time, because again, I'll scroll off,
Yep.
I will just write down all of the notes for that 30-minute block that I'm dialing. And then after my timer goes off, then I can update at that point instead of trying to do it at the same time. Cause that's when I like scroll off. It's like there was a statistic that I had either seen on social media or read about, but it said that if you get distracted, it takes you about 25 minutes to actually come back to the task.
That sounds low for me, but yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
conservative.
So I set the timer and I'm like, okay, 30-minute, like you said, the 30 minutes like a sweet spot. And then you can do that power hour or
Mhm.
like the power time block in there. And then when the timer goes off, then I can do my updating because otherwise I'll have a really hard time.
Yeah, those short bites are easier to swallow. That's than trying to say, all right, I've got all this to do today. I think having it broken down like that into these little short sprints is definitely easier to maintain for me because it just gets overwhelming when you look at, all right, I'm going to make 100 calls today, or I've got to make 50 calls today, or I've got to get 3 listings in today. It's like, all right, I'll do one listing and then I'm going to take a break and then I'll do the other listings. So it's just the bite size.
Yeah, I agree. And then even if I'm going to be going and doing stuff in the house, because I do work from home too, you're right. I can like easily squirrel off for that.
Mhm.
I'm like looking at the mess that my kids
Yeah.
made, or like the mess that I made when I made them like breakfast and like their lunches for school this morning. I'm like, again, I'm going to set a timer for the amount of time that I'm going to allocate to that, because otherwise I'll start cleaning that. And then as I'm putting something over here away, I'll start reorganizing that shelf.
Yeah, that's good.
So if I set the timer and then I'm like, okay, I only have until whatever time, and that what I get done is what I get done and it is what it is. I don't know.
Matt's going to
The
start setting
timer
a timer
actually
on me
really
now
helps.
for all my time off. He's going to start setting a timer. Get back to your day.
Like timer. That's so funny. It's good for my kids too. Like I set timers even for them, or even last night I was putting my daughter to bed and I'm like, "Okay, you go upstairs." She's almost 11. So I was like, "Okay, you go upstairs." And she's like, "You're going to come up and say goodnight." And I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "How long?" And she's like, "Cuz last time I fell asleep before you got up there."
Right.
And I was like, 5 minutes, okay? And then she's like, "Alexa, set a timer for 5 minutes."
Those are good. That's our youngest is definitely needs a timer for brushing his teeth, putting his shoes on. Everything's a timer. We're like, hey, I'll
So
start
funny.
just
The
counting
timer is a
out loud.
lifesaver.
It is.
I quite like it for kids and for myself. I'm
Yeah.
like, a lot of the things we do for our kids to keep them on track, I'm like, you know what? Fine. I'm going to
Hey,
treat
we're
myself
just
like a
we're just
junkie.
big kids, anyways.
It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we did talk a little bit about like relationships and like how that is like the biggest part of your business. Curious, how do you keep all of your relationships and connections with your clients? Do you have a referral program or like a set schedule to make sure you like stay connected? Because I think that's again one of the big things that people are not consistent with,
Right.
if we're going to stay on the same topic,
Yes.
and that we can get distracted and not follow our plan. So how do you
Yeah.
stay on track with those?
So the biggest thing for us was one of the biggest ways that we do that is we do a weekly newsletter, and it'll have we'll obviously have a listing spotlight. One of our new listings will have a neighborhood spotlight. We've started doing something where we spotlight one of our past clients, and if it's whether they own a business or they just had a new baby, whatever it is, we do some kind of spotlight on a past client. We'll have a restaurant of the week local here, and so most of the restaurants, they love that. They love being in there, and we have a local camera that's in our Tumors Corner, is a big spot in our college campus. And so there's like a live stream of Tumors Corner because they roll it whenever we win certain games and things like that. And so we have a live stream of the camera on there, but it's a newsletter that goes out to everybody once a week. And that's one way, obviously, we stay in touch with everybody. And most people have really good feedback, but they're like, we love just getting it. It gives us restaurant ideas, or it gives us, we see new neighborhoods coming up, or whatever. It gives us an idea of the market because we see a new listing every week and knowing what the prices are. And then we also do quarterly client events, past clients. And so we'll do a bowling one where they have their kids come, their kids can bowl, they get a arcade voucher for, I can't remember what it was, five or $10, something like that per kid for their voucher. And then they get to come there. And the thing that we've actually liked the most about that is that people new to the community moving in, they don't know many people. And so when they come to one of our events and they get to meet some of our other past clients, and then we're the catalyst of that relationship, which is not only cool and fun, but it's also a connector that they're going to remember. They're like, oh yeah, we met through our realtor. And then it's who other people are like, who's your realtor? And then that's just another way to get your name in circulation and what you're doing. And then we do a client clay shoot which is, if you ever shot clays before, it's like sporting clays, shotguns. So we have
Yeah,
a play.
yeah,
We have,
yeah.
yeah,
Oh
we
yeah,
have,
we did a Thanksgiving once. I did not
yeah.
get any,
Well, that's
but
all right.
it was fun.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. So we invite
Oh
clients to
my
that
god,
as
that's
well.
so fun.
We do a big clay shoot, and there's a course here in town, not too far, right outside of town. And so we do that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, sometimes we've done just gatherings at a local brewery where people come, bring kids and all that. And so it's a way to stay in touch with them. It's a way to see them. It's a way that, they obviously get updates from us on when they are, and then they get, hey, don't forget about the event you signed up for. So it's just multiple touches throughout the year for those. And then getting face to face with them is always amazing. Not only is it just good for the soul and getting to see them again and catching up on how their house is and how the family's doing, because we get busy during the year and don't get a chance to. It's just it's again fun way for them to meet new people as well. And then we have obviously our past client list that I try to go through it at least once a year and call everybody and just check on everybody just through our CRM system. And so just to have those conversations, they're always good. Most people that you work with, they're a little invested in your business. They want you to succeed. And so a lot of times they're like, what can I do for you? Can I send you somebody? And it just reminds them that like, hey, this is what I do. And if you have anybody, love to work with them. And most of the time I make those phone calls. Out of 5, somebody's going to give me a referral of, hey, by the way, my cousin was talking about moving here, or my roommate from college is looking to buy a condo here because they want a game day. There's going to be something where somebody says, I've been meaning to reach out to you. But again, I tell our agents all the time, it's not their job to reach out to you. It's your job to reach out to them and spark that interest. And it's not your job to build your friend who's an insurance agent. It's not your job to build their business. It's their job to build that business and to reach out to you to help you build that business, to help them build that business. But it's not their, that's not their, they didn't wake up that morning and go, I can't wait to help Evan in his business today.
Yeah, that's true.
You got to remind them. You just got to have a connection.
I love that though, because people are like really eager and like willing to help, but like life is so busy. And like you have kids and then you have other family and then work. And I mean, on top, there's so many other things on top of that, right? Even when one person in the family gets sick and then all of a sudden it rotates throughout everybody and it's just a month goes by. Yeah, a month goes by and you just, So
that's why the follow-up's so important.
It's so important.
The follow-up is, and people always feel like they're bothering somebody or they let the failure of the first time they called and the person was rushed to get off the phone. They let that seep in and they're like, oh, I don't want to call them because last time they seemed like they were bothered when I called them. But I can't tell you the number of times that somebody's called me and I had ketchup in one of my kids' hairs and a client calling me over something else, another kid throwing up in the back seat. And it's just, hey man, not the time. Like I need to get, and then eventually I bought whatever they were selling or changed my insurance or whatever. Like, it's again, sometimes you catch people at the wrong time. I don't know if you can hear my kid
in the background. He's homesick today and he was homesick all week last week. But
oh boy,
like people get this mindset that they're bugging you or that you're bugging them. But in reality, like life's just busy. If they're not in contact with you, even if my friends aren't in contact with me, don't think, oh, they don't like me anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just like life is just busy. So busy. And like, we're all just doing our best too. Like, I'm like, now I'm hungry. But I think is what it is. Like, we have to be the ones to make the first move in order to have.
Yeah. And that's why it's not a call where you're selling somebody. It's a call to check in on somebody because everyone's busy. Everyone's got crap going on. So it's, hey, I'm just checking in on you. Just a life check. Hey, I just want to see how everything is. I want to see if there's anything I can do for you. And then from those conversations, that's where you're able to help yourself out too. But really you're just hunting to check on somebody because life is busy and life is hard and there's a ton going on for everybody. And just seeing if you can be sometimes you're just an ear for somebody. And if you can be that ear, then they want to repay you.
Yeah, totally. I love I didn't realize this was going to be such a relationship business until I got into it. And I'm actually really happy that it is because I do really lean into relationships as well. Speaking of people being busy and just trying to keep focus. Again, this is like a full circle moment. We're already at 36 minutes and I know people listen to this while they're driving. So I think that we should wrap up so that we don't lose people. And I know that there's a lot of really good information there that hopefully people can take and implement. And I just want to say thank you for coming on the podcast today, chatting, giving us all your insight and wisdom on discipline and your daily activities. So
I don't know if there's much wisdom, but it's like I said, it was a lot of failure and trial and error. That's how we try to learn every single day. And there's always new things to learn that I think we talked about that off air at the beginning. It's just in this world, there's just something that you can learn every single day. So ask your questions.
Yeah. Don't forget to do that. It's never ending. But you know what? That's the beautiful thing. I don't think I could do the same thing every day. So I'm grateful for it to be this way.
Absolutely not. I agree. I think we're both in that same boat. So yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I learned a lot too. I am definitely going to there are going to be timers all over this place. So I'm ready for it. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Evan.
Yeah, I appreciate it. You have a good one.
That's a wrap on this episode of Real Estate Real Talk. Whether you're an agent building your business or a buyer or seller trying to get the real story, thanks for being here. If this episode gave you clarity, confidence, or just something to talk about, I'd love for you to follow, rate, and share the show. It helps more people find these conversations. If you have questions or want to connect, head over to SkyleighMcCallum.com or come hang out with me on Instagram. Thanks for listening, and I hope you catch the next episode on Real Estate Real Talk.